Good day, folks. Happy December 1st is when this is being recorded and uploaded. But whenever you guys are watching this, happy day to you. We've got another replay today. It's going to be once again a PVT between the blue Protoss TimboSlice and his red Terran opponent, Shigo. Shigo sounds kind of Japanese, which is where Timbo was recently. So maybe they crossed paths in Tokyo, in Shibuya Crossing. Maybe they saw each other, and maybe this is a bit of a grudge match, or I don't know. I don't think they actually know each other. But Timbo gonna be starting things off on the low ground. Generally a pretty safe thing to do as Protoss, but this is, I think, Platinum League, so anything can happen. Shigo, our Terran player, building his stuff on the top of the ramp, but he does have an SCV going down to build a quick command center. Down that goes. The map, by the way, is Oceanborn LE. It's a very pretty map, I would say. I think it's like underwater. Got these cool little plants, seaweeds, whatever. And then over here at the bottom right side of the map, there is that big whale that swims around once in a while. Oh, there it is. There's the shadow. Kind of scary. If you don't really know where it is, you don't see it, but you see its shadow. You know, it's kind of somewhere above the Protoss base. Could potentially be distracting for the player that spawns here. A little bit imbalanced there. But Timbo dropping his Nexus down, chrono boosting out that Stalker. You kind of need to chrono boost either a Stalker or an Adept in this matchup, just in case the Reaper shows up. Now, of course, Shigo didn't go for an early Reaper. He is just pumping out Marines one at a time. The second command center did finish up, but a bit of a mistake here. He's not morphing that into an orbital just yet. He did have the money to queue up 2 SCVs, so definitely should have started that orbital maybe like 30 seconds ago, whenever this finished, really. Main base is an orbital, so at least there's that. And Timbo, is kind of what he does as Protoss. He gets a single unit and nothing else. He's gonna sit on 2 army supply for a good half hour or so. Slight exaggeration, but not far off from the truth. He is gonna be getting an observer to spot his enemy's base. Shigo, still no orbital. This man, he is definitely not doing the right thing here. Queuing up 4 SCVs, that's a lot of money that can already be used for an orbital. That's a common sign of perhaps an inexperienced player, because that orbital pays for itself after the first mule. But Shigo, being a little bit cheeky, going for a very fast fusion core. He's going to be rushing up to battle cruisers. Now, is Timbo going to see this with the observer? Probably yes, because I don't anticipate Shigo is going to be able to really have the awareness to spot the glimmer and snipe that observer. Well, as I say that, he does unload his Marines, so maybe he did spot it, but it's going to be a little too late. And Timbo is gonna spot the fusion core there. So what is the response from Timbo? He's gonna be getting a single cannon so far in each mineral line. 2 in the natural, actually. That's not really gonna be too impactful in the defense. It's gonna make it so that the battle cruisers can't stick around forever, but I don't love it. That's a lot of minerals. Kind of wasted. 5 cannons plus the shield battery. It's a lot of wasted minerals. I would have preferred just more stalkers, to be honest. Maybe throw down a Stargate or some Void Rays. A bit of an over response, over committal perhaps to the static defense. And in general, I think ground units not the best against air, just because there's a lot of dead space on a lot of these maps. Like if the battlecruiser hangs out back here or something, or in the corner back here, it's going to be very hard for ground units to really hit them. Again, coming down from Shigo, maybe just to see what Timbo has, because that first battlecruiser did just finish. Should be warping in, perhaps, or maybe he's gonna fly slowly so he can save the warp to get out of there. Looks like that is indeed what he's doing, but Timbo did spot that on the mini-map. Was he paying attention? That's the question. Both players getting their third bases now. Timbo reinforcing with a wall here. Missile turrets being made from Shigo. Not sure why. He did drop a scan of the main base. Didn't see anything that should really prompt that response. It is a deterrent against this observer, I suppose, but a lot of missile turrets for no reason. There's no Stargate. Battlecruiser flies in. Stalker's in position, so it's just gonna warp out. Did get a single kill. Not sure what unit that was. Looks like a Stalker. So, I mean, it's free damage at the cost of the repair, I guess. So, fine defense from Timbo so far, but likewise, fine offense from Shigo, as he didn't lose that battlecruiser. Both players are saturating up for their third base. Shigo morphing this into a planetary. It's a little non-standard. Usually the first 3 bases are orbitals. He does have a second, or rather third, orbital here just for additional SCV production, additional mules. And continuing to produce siege tanks for the defense. It's going to be very hard for Timbo to ever attack into this. Not impossible, mind you, but yeah, siege tanks, planetaries, yeah, difficult to engage. 2 battlecruisers making their way across the map once again. They should both have teleport, I assume. And Timbo just going the Stalker route. He is researching Zealot legs. That's not the official term, but no Zealots in production just yet. And that shadow, again, that's a little distracting. Could mistake that for battlecruisers. But here are the battlecruisers. Actually, they're wasting time on a cannon, but it looks like they should. No, doesn't take out that cannon. Nice battery overcharge from Timbo. I didn't know he actually knew how to use that ability, but good job by him. Saves that photon cannon and in fact takes out a battlecruiser as well. So excellent defense from Timbo there. Bit of a mistake from Shigo not teleporting away in time. So units lost. Gonna be skewed slightly in Timbo's favor. 9.5 minutes in. Not a whole lot going on so far, but hopefully it does start to pick up as more battle cruisers, well, not exactly in production, but perhaps soon. And Timbo with this 3 base saturation That's generally when he starts thinking of going for an attack. We'll see if that happens. But it looks like 4th base going to be on the docket for TimboSlice. Templar Archives is up, so High Templars could be an option, but none yet, just Stalkers. And again, he has that Zealot charge ability. No Zealots. 2 battle cruisers once again making their way across. Gonna find this 4th base, and there's no defenses here. Stalkers quite out of position, so we might have to see a cancel here. But a bit of a mistake from Shigo focusing on the pylons. I think probably a better idea to get the cancel on that base, but the Stalkers do show up. They are going to be able to push this back. 1 battlecruiser does end up going down there. Another mistake from Shigo, not teleporting that out. The Nexus survives, so that's good. And, oh, little miscontrol there from Shigo. Might lose another battlecruiser, and oh my god, what a disaster for Shigo, a red Terran player. Losing 3 battlecruisers this game for not a whole lot. 3 Stalkers, 2 pylons, that's it. But he is undeterred. He's kind of doubling down on this, getting Yamato Cannon, but kind of seems like he's shifting away from that. And if that is the case, you probably want to cancel Yamato Cannon. And I think Timbo's anti-air is good enough. Yeah, definitely. Look at all these Stalkers. 47 Stalkers and nothing else. Yeah, that's gonna do just fine against battlecruisers. But I don't know about this ground army. Marauders, very good against armored units. Siege tanks, very good against anything on the ground, pretty much. So yeah, again, it's going to be quite difficult for Timbo to engage into Shigo. But Timbo is going for an attack against the rocks. Let's take out those rocks. Some scans going down on a lot of stuff. Just dropping down everywhere. Doesn't see any of the army. So he does know that the army's out on the map. Let's drop a couple more to spot the location of Timbo's army. But that kind of begs the question, why were you banking so much energy, Shigo? Another scan going down, and Timbo getting a little crazy there, walking down the ramp into a fortified position. Does take some heavy losses there. Big stim out of Shigo to chase the retreating Stalkers, and oh, a lot of Stalkers being lost there for essentially free. And that was very no bueno for TimboSlice. Now his units kind of clogged up here. Half his army not participating in the fight. So a very excellent engagement here from Shigo so far. Only 1 medevac, so a lot of these units are peppered up from the stims. And that medevac did end up going down. But Timbo lost so much in the past minute or so that I don't know if he can hold this base, and looks like he's just going to give that up. So big mistake engaging into here. And yeah, I mean, it was just Stalkers. That's usually not the best idea. You kind of want, obviously, these Zealots to charge in, close the distance, soak up some damage. You want some splash damage in the form of either Colossus or High Templars with their Storms. I don't think Timbo researched Storm, is that right? No, I lied. He does have Storm, so yeah, I don't know why he didn't have High Templars sooner. Another cascade of scans going down. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's a cool word, cascade. Shigo does still have the supply lead, much of that in army, but the lead in workers as well. I think perhaps he had an opening to just end the game earlier. It was like 150 to 110 supply earlier when he went for that attack. But a lot of that supply is in these siege tanks. Could have brought them along with him. But hold that thought, here comes Timbo with a big attack, and now he does have a more varied army. Gotta collect your units though. A lot of these Archons kind of doing their own thing, but the storms do go down, and storms are such a devastating ability. It does blanket much of this Terran army, so much damage being dealt. But I don't know, does Timbo have enough heavy casualties on both sides, storming his own units even? It looks like a bit of a stalemate trade there. And all these expensive High Templars being caught on the retreat. And not sure why those Stalkers stopped retreating, but they're all going to go down. Don't think Shigo really has enough to continue the counter pressure. But it was a decent attack there. I think Timbo overstayed his welcome. And now 130 to 79 supply. Things not looking too hot for TimboSlice over here. Meanwhile, Shigo still sitting pretty, getting this additional base at the 12 o'clock position, retaking this, 9 o'clock base. Timbo also trying to expand again over here. He did retake this bottom base, but the supply heavily in favor of the red Terran player. He is now once again restarting that battlecruiser production. 3-3 infantry on the way. Even this high sec auto tracking. I think that's the name of the upgrade. The upgrade that allows missile turrets, planetaries have +1 range. And Timbo not really advancing his tech. He is getting shield upgrades. He does already have 3-3 attack and armor. Wouldn't mind seeing a Robo Bay. Maybe throw in some Colossus and or Disruptors. Disruptors, yeah, they are a little bit difficult to use, but they are very devastating, especially if your opponent is in the Platinum League. Maybe can't split that well. But no Robo Bay in sight just yet. More gateways being thrown down, but Timbo not even utilizing the 14 he currently has. These are just kind of a wall right now. More scans going down to spot just what Timbo's up to. He spots this base. And a bit of a lull here in the action. Timbo with a decent gateway army. He has shifted away from Stalkers entirely, which is the correct call, I would say, against this many Marauders, against siege tanks as well. Even though siege tanks just being used on the defense, I think if Shigo had like 6 siege tanks in his army for the attack, it would be nigh impossible for Timbo to defend. But without that splash damage, I think Timbo's going to be just fine, especially when he has the splash damage himself. 2 battlecruisers on the bottom base. Kind of was going for a double-pronged attack, but in execution didn't really work out that way. I think if he went for that main attack and this at the same time, Timbo would be spread way too thin. He is forced to warp in a few Stalkers. Does push back the battlecruisers, doesn't lose any this time around. And Timbo's once again been pushed back on the back foot. He is trailing 53 supply, nothing really going in his favor right now. Meanwhile, Shigo is massing up a rather large bank. He is pretty well set up defensively. I like this. Look at that. The siege tank being protected by a few supply depots. It's gonna make it so zealots can't close in the distance. And yeah, Shigo continuing to make battle cruisers 2 at a time. Still has this infantry army, more scans going down, and even getting additional planetaries, additional command centers. I assume this is going to be for a planetary as well. Don't know what he's waiting for. Shigo has plenty of money, but both players kind of passing each other like ships in the night right now. Are we going to see perhaps a base trade? That would be a little bit crazy. I think more likely Timbo would go for the recall. But here it goes. Big attack here from Shigo onto this 4th base, let's call it. Meanwhile, Timbo engaging these 4 battlecruisers, and they do warp out. Shigo does take out this Nexus, and Timbo thought about engaging into that planetary, but does not. And instead, he's gonna walk half of this army back and recall half his army. That is not usually a good call, but maybe that kind of accidentally sets up the surround. No. I thought that would have been a cool move, but it doesn't really work out that way. Now Storm's just way too good right now. That is going to be able to defend this 3rd base. Once again, Shigo, no splash damage with this army. I think that is a massive mistake on his end. Not bringing any of his siege tanks along. And once again, Timbo does defend the pressure from Shigo. And yeah, I mean, again, if he just added a few siege tanks with his attacks, it would be that much harder for Timbo to defend. Maybe even throw in some ghosts. As we all know, ghosts are so ridiculously strong against Protoss, because they just delete this blue health bar, they delete this purple bar, and yeah, I think it would be so difficult for Timbo if those were in the mix. But now Timbo, he does have that Robo Bay, getting Thermal Lance, so Colossus perhaps on the horizon. Indeed, 2 in production now. I don't know where that's second. Oh, that is the second. So 2 robotics facilities producing Colossus. That has been Timbo's saving grace in this game so far, the splash damage, whereas Shigo is lacking that. Now, 6 battlecruisers going for a bit of attack. They do have that Yamato cannon, so they do blast a few of these Archons, but gotta be careful. Don't want to stick around too long. Is gonna lose 1 for essentially free, and the second one as well. Not really free. He did take out a couple Archons, but I think that trade favored the Protoss just a bit more. Look at the units lost. A lot more lost from Protoss, actually, compared to the early game when a few battlecruisers went down for essentially free. So Timbo has been getting the short end on these trades. Shigo, relatively untouched on his side of the map. He is floating a base over to take this 6th base, I think. This observer gonna be spotting everything here. And Timbo just going for a gateway Colossus army. See a Warp Prism going in for some warp shenanigans, perhaps. And Timbo gonna be finding this new base undefended right now. Those siege tanks were not sieged up. command center was not a planetary just yet, so good little pick off there from Timbo. His first victory in a while, I would say. More scans going down. Shigo is so trigger happy on these scans, but he's a very rich boy, so he can certainly afford that. 6 battle cruisers going for the attack on this 6 o'clock base. And Timbo's army quite out of position, so a lot of probes gonna go down. Oh my goodness, dropping down to 35 probes. And I think he could just focus down this Nexus, maybe. Oh, doesn't quite get the Nexus. Oh, does save that battle cruiser in the nick of time. That was super clutch. With all these units in position now, I don't think this Nexus will be going down. Does lose 1 battle cruiser there, but snipes down 2 of the Colossus. This Warp Prism not being utilized. It would have been cool to see like a warp in there while all this was happening, but it is a lot of multitasking. And pretty decent teleports here from Shigo. Gets a few of these battle cruisers out. He's gonna continue harassing with these remaining 2. Does take out a couple High Templars, so that's pretty nice there. But oh, gotta be careful. Big blink in from Timbo, so he does take out another one of those. Not too bad from either player. I think that perhaps favored Shigo a little bit more as he took out a lot of probes there. But Timbo does defend this base. And bit of a mistake from Shigo not to snipe this base down. I think he definitely could have just right-clicked it and gotten out of there. So Timbo going to be chrono boosting some workers, continuing to produce High Templars, Colossus. Timbo very broke. And Shigo, he's essentially maxed out. He's got 8,000 minerals in the bank, almost 2,000 gas. Both players maxed out for their respective armies. Battlecruiser fleet coming in once again, while the ground army at the top right. And yeah, the only thing I can fault Shigo on in this game is these siege tanks not participating in the fight. Battlecruiser is going to take out that Nexus and a whole bunch of probes. Meanwhile, the Marine Marauder Ball going to be going for this base up here. And I don't know if you guys saw that, but this base recalled the probes out of the frying pan into the fire. And big attack from Timbo as well. Takes out this planetary, but the Terran army is here. Storms are absolutely massive. Oh my god, heavy casualties there from the Terran player, losing his entire ground army. And Timbo continuing the onslaught. Battlecruisers warp back home, but where is the rest of the Terran army? His production kind of slacking here. Only 5 barracks, and GG gets called from Timbo. And Shigo gonna be taking this game here.